In the city of Corinth, the descendants of Sisyphus, the man who dared to deceive the gods, reigned over the city. King Glaucus had two sons, Deliades, his favorite, and Bellerophon, who was so beautiful that people said he was Poseidon's son. The two brothers had a great rivalry, and almost always, whenever they trained their martial techniques, Bellerophon lost. But as he grew, Bellerophon became stronger and more agile, and their clashes got more violent. Despite improving every day, Deliades was more skilled than Bellerophon. During the fights, he displayed exaggerated confidence, imprudently triggering his brother. Angered by his brother's provocations, Bellerophon started fighting furiously, forgetting his own fatigue, and he beat his brother with an unusual speed. One of his fast blows overcame Deliades' defensive stance, and Bellerophon hit the prince's head with great violence. Deliades fell to the ground, his body motionless. Bellerophon ran to help him, but the young prince's spirit had left for the kingdom of Hades. Bellerophon cried with his brother in his arms, while the king ran to see what had happened. "No! No! No! What happened?" Fueled by the enormous pain of losing his favorite son, the king expelled Bellerophon from his kingdom and ordered him never to return. "It was an accident! We were training and—" "It can't be! It can't be! Get out! Take that curse that you have shed on us! Out!" The young man left under the disapproving looks of his compatriots, who had much love for the dead prince. And so Bellerophon crossed the gates of the city, carrying on his shoulders the weight of guilt, and under the curse of a terrible sin. The young man wandered aimlessly through Greece, until he reached the city of Tyryns, ruled by King Protus. When the monarch learned that the exiled prince of Corinth was in his lands, he offered him lodging and treated him with all respect and hospitality, obeying the principles of Zeus. Bellerophon told the king the reason for his banishment and swore that everything had been a terrible accident. The king was moved by the situation and promised to help him. Protus organized a purification ritual to atone for the sins of the Corinthian prince. "You will be an honorary citizen of Tyryns. This is now your home. You will be forgiven by the gods. Let's make an offering to them." With the sacrifices offered to the gods, Bellerophon's sins were purged, and the young man now owed a great debt of gratitude to the king. The queen of Tyryns felt mesmerized while contemplating the young man at the peak of his beauty. Bellerophon began to reside in the court of King Protus, and did not realize the desire of Queen Antea. One day, Bellerophon was invited to a private meeting with the queen. "Your Highness, how can I help you?" The queen used her great beauty to try to seduce him. But out of respect and gratitude to his host, Bellerophon did not think of committing such treason and rejected the queen. My apologies, I have a task to finish." The queen audibly insulted the Prince of Corinth and questioned his manhood, but he ignored and left the woman on her knees. But the queen would not accept that humiliation and wanted revenge on the young man who had rejected her. Antea addressed the king and, with crocodile tears dropping from her eyes, denouncing Bellerophon's rape attempt. The king was taken by a huge fury, but due to the duty of hospitality required by Zeus, he could not attack his guest. "What a scoundrel! I open the doors of my kingdom to him. I will take care of it." But Protus was a wise man and devised a plan to get rid of the guest who had supposedly dishonored his home. The king ordered the scribe to write a letter to his father-in-law and delivered this sealed message to Bellerophon, asking him to give it to Iobates, the king of Lycia. Bellerophon naively accepted the task of his host, for whom he nurtured enormous gratitude, without suspecting that he had devised a way to kill him. Upon finding an entourage dressed in the colors of his son-in-law's kingdom, the king of Lycia ordered preparations to welcome the visitors. The king was deeply amicable to Bellerophon. After all, a friend of his son-in-law would also be his friend. The young man tried to deliver the message to the king, but he refused to check it before the young man knew Lycia's hospitality.
"Welcome, young man.
I come on behalf of King Proteus. He asked me to give you..." During a great feast, Iobates presented his beautiful daughter to the man from Corinth, who was immediately struck down by an Eros arrow. In an attempt to recover his composure, Bellerophon decided to deliver the message to the king. Iobates was stunned by its content. The letter said that the bearer of that document had attempted to rape the daughter of Lycia's king, and that he should get the punishment he deserved. Like his brother-in-law, the king began to feel hatred for Bellerophon. But even consumed by resentment, Iobates realized the interest of the young Bellerophon for his daughter. Lycia's monarch wanted to take that opportunity to get rid of his guest. The king said he would give his daughter's hand to the young prince if he helped him in a difficult task. Iobates explained to Bellerophon that his kingdom was suffering a terrible scourge. Villages were destroyed, plantations burned, and cattle perished. All this because of a terrible creature. The king promised to deliver his beautiful daughter to the hero in case he would rid Lycia's kingdom of this creature. Bellerophon, feeling an enormous sense of courage fed by passion, promptly accepted the challenge. "That task is mine. I will put an end to this curse." Bellerophon took up arms and left in search of the creature. Satisfied, Iobates saw the man, who supposedly tried to rape his eldest daughter, heading for a terrible death. The youngster had no idea that he would meet one of the most fearsome creatures that had ever passed through the earth. His name was Chimera. The monster descended from Typhon and Echidna, two of the most sinister creatures of the Greek world. This monster had a lion's head, a goat's head, and its tail was a terrible snake. The beast was a terribly aggressive animal. Nothing could resist his sharp claws, and his flaming breath burned everything around him. But before meeting this evil creature, the gods provided an unexpected encounter. Bellerophon found the magnificent winged horse Pegasus, son of Medusa and Poseidon, drinking water in a stream. He knew that if he could tame that creature, he would be practically invincible. The hero stealthily approached the winged horse and jumped on the animal, which reacted immediately, bouncing frantically. Pegasus threw the daring young man away. He fell to the ground and hit his head on a rock. Bellerophon became unconscious, and his mind entered the kingdom of Morpheus, the god of dreams. In his sleep, he came upon Athena, the goddess of wisdom, who had golden reins in her hands. "Am I dreaming?" Athena gave Bellerophon, for whom she felt great empathy, the special reins, and explained how to tame Pegasus. When the young man awoke, in his hands he had the goddess's divine reins, and Pegasus was still around. Following the goddess's guidance, Bellerophon calmly approached the glorious animal and gently put the reins on it. "Easy, my friend. I will need your help." The Prince of Corinth mounted the winged horse and began galloping. Bellerophon and the glorious creature took flight. Pegasus had never been mounted, but the union between the knight and the animal was so perfect that they pierced the clouds as if they were one single creature. At the top, Bellerophon noticed a huge column of smoke, indicating the presence of the terrible Chimera. "Looks like we found the monster." The bestial creature destroyed everything around him, and the flames consumed the village. Up there, Bellerophon was assessing his opponent. He was a more dangerous enemy than he had imagined. The beast spat gushes of fire against the hero, but the agile equine could anticipate the trajectory of those deadly attacks. Pegasus and Bellerophon flew in circles around the creature, which seemed to be increasingly confused. The hero attacked Chimera, and he prepared to fight back. The beast jumped on Pegasus, but the animal responded with a kick to the beast's head. Realizing that the monster was vulnerable, Bellerophon jumped off of his horse and pierced the beast with his spear. Chimera was dead, and after exterminating the beast, Bellerophon felt overwhelmed by an enormous sense of power. He began to believe the stories about him being Poseidon's son.
This damned demon required a great effort.
I was blessed in this fight, and now I will take the trophy to prove my worth. Bellerophon returned to the palace of Iobates with the monster's head as a trophy. The king was impressed. He never imagined that that boy would be able to complete the task successfully.
How in the hell did... I mean, he's dead.
The king told Bellerophon that he would prepare the wedding as soon as two other threats were neutralized: the Solymi and the Amazons.
Unfortunately, I have two other tasks before I grant my daughter's hand.
Bellerophon knew that the king was infringing on what had been agreed, but due to his passion for the princess, he accepted these new tasks. Bellerophon fought and defeated the Solymi, the wild warriors and the offspring of Ares. The Amazons also failed to defeat the powerful warrior and his divine horse. Bellerophon returned to Lycia, taking as prisoners the leaders of the looters who terrorized their kingdom.
Here they are. What else do I have to do to prove my worth?
Iobates realized that that man was blessed by the gods, and that the accusations made against him could only be unfounded.
This guy is invincible.
As promised, the king of Lycia celebrated Bellerophon's marriage to Princess Philonoe and named the hero as his heir. Bellerophon had conquered everything a man could desire. He had a beautiful family and ruled Lycia in her father-in-law's place. But after all of his accomplishments, he believed he deserved a much greater glory. In an impulsive act, he rode Pegasus and flew to Olympus. Bellerophon guided his winged horse towards the skies. Conquered by pride, he wanted Olympus because he thought it was right to have a place next to the gods. At Olympus, Zeus observed the daring and unbridled pride of that man, who considered himself part of the immortal gods. That display of arrogance was considered a grave sin, known as hubris.
How senseless! How can he dare? I believe one wasp will be beaten by another.
The supreme god made a wasp sting Bellerophon's horse. Bellerophon fell from the heavens, and his desire for immortality vanished among the clouds. A mortal would never survive such a great fall. Some say that Bellerophon died a terrible death. Others say he was saved by the goddess Athena and spent the rest of his life trying to find his winged horse again. But regardless of the fate of the proud hero, he never met Pegasus again, as the horse became immortal by the will of the gods and was placed among the stars.